there are a lot of medical studies that come out each day, but how do we know which ones have life-saving information that could be helpful in our own lives and which ones are junk? Here to help decipher all of this is Dr. Rosie Chauhan. Dr. Rosie, welcome back to the show. Good to have you.
Thank you. How are you?
Good, thank you. Now listen, the first study that I want to ask you about, Dr. Rosie, is a new study that found that scented candles and air fresheners can pose some very dangerous health risks. I use these all day, every day, even all night. I like lots of things to smell good around me. Why are these dangerous?
I don't know that they are, actually. I mean, SC Johnson has denied any claims that they are dangerous. I mean, when we talk about candles, the fragrances are also used in aerosols, plug-ins, gels, and even incense sticks have been pointed at in this particular study. I mean, but just of note, this research was not published in a medical journal. This information was published in the Daily Mail, which is a regular newspaper in England.
And so didn't they get their information, though, from some sort of study?
Yeah, but, you know, it depends. A study can be a study. It doesn't mean that it's credible or that the information can be reproduced. And to be honest with you, how are you going to prove that these products, I mean, just as someone who might devise a study, how are you going to prove that these products lead to asthma in the future? I mean, you know, so I think it's a bit of a far stretch. I mean, of course, we should always push manufacturers and ask questions about the safety of certain products. I don't dispute that at all. I think feedback pushes things to make better, to get better. But I would be suspect of these things right now. I don't think there's any absolute proof.
All right, I saw a study today that says double mastectomies are on the rise among men. We don't think of men with breast cancer very often. Is that because maybe they just talk about it less, but it happens more than we think?
Well, they may talk about it less, yes, as with most things medical. Men obviously don't want to talk about things. But 1% of all breast cancers occur in men. It is rare. But the study that we're talking about right now really is about why is it that men would want what we call a contralateral prophylactic mastectomy. And basically, don't be fearful of that comment, but basically it just means having a mastectomy on the other side when you don't know that there's cancer there. You hear of women having this all the time, but apparently men having this is on the rise. And the concerning thing is that there isn't any evidence for a survival benefit. When women have this kind of thing, they tend to think that, you know, they have discussions with a doctor about the genetic influence, family history, genetic markers. You've heard of these things. And there's absolute reason that even fear of having breast cancer on the other side is a reasonable concern, you know. But the study has shown, looking at 6,000 men who had breast cancer, that they have the rates of contralateral mastectomy have doubled, and about 6% in all men who have breast cancer, and there isn't any survival benefit. And so one has to look at why. Now, the group that did have this tended to be young, white, and have private insurance. So, you know, some of those things kind of raise some questions.
Okay, but just to clarify, it does seem to be beneficial in women with the same genetic predisposition toward cancer, correct?
Depending on all those risk factors that I just said. I mean, genetic markers are extremely important, and family history vital.
Got it. All right, another recent study says midlife obesity is linked to Alzheimer's. Do we know the link between the two?
There's been suggestions in other studies, but a recent study showed that essentially if you're, there's a lot of details to this, but essentially the bottom line is that a BMI, or body mass index, which many people may have heard of, indicates, you know, whether someone's obese or not. If someone has a BMI of above 25, that they're going to get Alzheimer's 7 months earlier than they would have done. And if someone's BMI is above 30, that they'd get Alzheimer's a whole year before. Now, just of note in the study that I'm talking about, and there's a lot of detail to this, but essentially they did autopsies on about 200 people who are obese, and they found that, you know, the essence of what Alzheimer's is an amyloid protein, and they found that amyloid protein in people who didn't even have the Alzheimer's symptoms when they died. So that just shows that there is a link, a suspicious link between obesity and Alzheimer's, yes.
Makes sense. A new report suggests that 3/4, Dr. Rosie, of American adults have heart ages that are older than their actual ages. What does it mean when someone's heart is older than their actual age, and how can you find out if you're one of those folks?
Well, you're certainly not young at heart, I can tell you that.
That's right.
Yeah, so, and yet again, a long study, but basically they found that certain men can have an age difference. And when we say heart health, we're talking about heart health, the health of their heart and their cardiovascular system compared to their chronological age. And that people who have risk factors for cardiovascular issues and can have a difference of 8 years. So a man can, his heart can be 8 years older than his actual age, and in a woman, she can be her heart can be 5 years older than her actual age. And the risk factors for that include hypertension, diabetes, obesity, and smoking.
Another study, Dr. Rosie, says that getting less sleep makes you more susceptible to illness. How does that work?
Well, apparently 1 in 5 Americans have less than 6 hours sleep. And we do know that the old adage that, you know, if you want to prevent illness, then get enough sleep, essentially. And it's found to be true in this study. And that, you know, and sleep deprivation has been associated with many things, including premature death, a chronic illness. It affects the immune system by T cells. That has been shown in itself, which is very interesting. And so it can actually lead to other diseases too. So it's important to get your sleep if you want. And in fact, people who sleep less than 6 hours also are 4 times more likely to get a cold.
So there you go. So old wives' tales were right. Now,
Yes.
sometimes these studies get very personal, Dr. Rosie, and there was a study done on people with ADHD. Researchers found out it was linked to traumatic brain injury. So does that mean ADHD is caused by brain damage? This could be very personal for me, so be careful with this answer.
Well, you know, the important thing is that the World Health Organization have stated that by 2020, that traumatic brain injury will be the 3rd large contributor to disability and illness after heart disease and depression. So that's why there's a lot of study in this kind of thing. And the important thing is that you recognize what traumatic brain injury is, and a lot of the causes in the youth are due to soccer and hockey. So, you know, that's the other thing. So a study was done in younger children. They found that some of them persistent symptoms from a traumatic brain injury incident, which essentially in their study was classed as 5 minutes of unconsciousness or 1 night of hospitalization. So, you know, that's the kind of level of injury we're talking about, could develop ADHD later on.
All right. Well, I'm not too hurt by that. Although I did once wreck my bike and fracture my skull, so maybe that's what caused the ADHD. But I think I had it before that, so it doesn't really work. All right. Thanks for being with us, Dr. Chauhan.